So this is a topic I've thought about discussing in a video for a while now. I had no idea when I was going to get around to making this video, but fellow Halo YouTuber Arash, he tweeted something out a couple days ago, and that's kind of what inspired me to make this video. So it's kind of a response to him. I mean, I guess his tweets motivated me to make this video now, I'll say that, but this is a video I thought about discussing. This is a video I thought about making for a while now. So, real quick, I want to go through his tweets. We're going to read them, and then we're going to talk about it. So, Arash said, MCC over Halo 5, a thread. Tired of people spamming MCC has more players than Halo 5 and thinking it means or proves anything. 343 sealed that grave years ago when they shifted focus from Halo 5 to MCC, and it took years for the player count to reflect that. Since 2016, MCC was literally resurrected from the grave with fixes, quality of life updates, PC port, and actual new content. Halo 5 has got none of that. It didn't even get a Series X update. Is MCC objectively a better game than Halo 5? Sure, make that argument, but seeing people say things like it's pathetic Halo 5 has less players than an old collection is so disingenuous. What you mean to say is actively updated live service collection has more players than abandoned live service game. There's so many more factors. There are definitely many more factors. But people just ignore all of them and pretend MCC and Halo 5 are on equal footing. So, right here, Arash is basically talking about the fact that 343, they stopped updating Halo 5 a long time ago, and they definitely have shifted their focus towards MCC, and MCC is the game that's getting all the updates. And it seems like he's saying that's a big contributor to why more people are playing MCC than Halo 5. And like I said, Arash is absolutely right when he says there's so many more factors. One of those factors is what he presented here in these tweets, the fact that MCC is getting updates and Halo 5 is not. But there are so many more factors beyond just that. Alex McDonald replied to Arash saying, people make the argument all the time that gameplay is outdated and nobody but nostalgia-blinded fanboys want it. Why would most people prefer to play outdated games just because of content updates? Had MCC worked, it probably would have always had higher player numbers. Arash says, I'm not saying those are the only people who play it, but when you compare a game that gets 0 updates versus a game that gets updates constantly, it's a stupid comparison to just tout player numbers as if they mean anything. MCC probably is objectively better than Halo 5, but make actual arguments. Player base isn't the end-all be-all, plus MCC only recently passed Halo 5 anyways, years after Halo 5 stopped getting support. Suracia, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say it, but that person said, comparing a game that has gotten a PC port, new games, new content to a 6-year-old game that has ended support 3 years ago and is only getting playlist updates, what a good idea. To which Arash replied, yep, but people act like for some reason it means anything. Listen, you can't do that. He says a 6-year-old game, which, well, first off, it's 5, it'll be 6 years, Halo 5 will be six years old this year. It's a 5-year-old game right now, but you can't act like Halo 5's the old game in this. You can't do that. MCC is a collection. I mean, first off, MCC itself is older than Halo 5. And MCC is a collection of a bunch of games that are older, some being way older than Halo 5. So you can't frame it like Halo 5's the old game in this. No, you can't do that. The games within MCC are the old games. Halo 5 is the new and refreshing game, okay? Zayak, also another fellow Halo YouTuber, said, imagine if they never stopped updating Halo 5 and gave it crossplay while also bringing it to PC. Would have been interesting to see how it would have been received by PC players new to Halo. So I was thinking the same thing. What if Halo 5 was the game getting all the updates and got ported to PC and had crossplay? And was on Game Pass like MCC is, and let's say MCC didn't get any of that. MCC never got ported to PC, still had to play it at 60 FPS on Xbox, wasn't on Game Pass, wasn't getting update, right? If the roles were reversed here, what would the population numbers look like? I thought about that myself. So clearly there are some people who point to MCC's population numbers as a reason why they believe MCC is a better game than Halo 5, or more people want to play MCC than Halo 5. But then you also have people like Arash here who feel those population numbers don't mean a whole lot when one game is getting updated and getting ported to PC and is on Game Pass, and the other game isn't getting any updates at all. It's not on PC. Well, just Halo 5 Forge and custom games is on PC. That does not count as Halo 5 being on PC. So yeah, Halo 5 is not on PC. It's not getting updates. It's not on Game Pass. But this is how I feel about it. So the majority of people that are playing MCC because they prefer the gameplay that the games within the MCC has to offer. They prefer the gameplay within Halo 1, 2, 3, 4, Reach, ODST over what they're getting with a game like Halo 5. Listen, I'm sure there are some people who are playing MCC because that's the game getting the updates. That's the game that is on PC and Halo 5's not. Sure, those people do exist. But I think most people who are playing either Halo 5 or MCC are playing those games because they enjoy the gameplay within those games more than the other. And some people might opt to play a game like Halo 5 over some of these older Halo games just because it's newer. So that is where I stand on this. I do believe those population numbers mean something, and I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing to those population numbers and saying, hey look, more people want to play MCC than Halo 5. I don't believe that the MCC population numbers are so high because people are saying, oh, I'm gonna go play MCC just because that's the game getting these new nameplates and weapon skins and armor. I'm gonna go play these old Halo games because they're getting things like that instead of the new Halo 5, which, by the way, we gotta talk about the fact that the gameplay within Halo 5 and the games found in MCC are significantly different. And we'll touch on that in a second, but real quick, let's look at these. These are the population numbers that people like to look at here. They use SpartanFinder.com. I'm not entirely sure how all these numbers are gathered, but as you can see right now, let me refresh real quick. Okay, yeah, MCC on Steam, 7,800. MCC on Xbox Live, 6,500, and Halo 5 Guardians is at 1,300 right now. And it is currently 12:30 a.m. EST on a Thursday, so this isn't like prime hours. Like these numbers here were actually higher earlier. And if you hover over Halo 5 Guardians on Xbox Live, you'll see it says this number comes from an indirect method and could possibly undercount the true population size. So these numbers aren't perfect. I definitely think like the Steam, you can check the Steam numbers. I think that's pretty reliable for MCC on Steam. But I don't imagine that these numbers are too far off. Like, even if you added 10,000, you add 10,000 to the current number that they're showing for Halo 5 right now, then MCC still has more players. So, and I don't think there's that big of a disparity between these numbers on Spartan Finder and the actual numbers in-game. Like, these population numbers that we're seeing here on Spartan Finder, they're probably not perfect, but I don't think they're completely unreliable. And for those of you who didn't know about this site, you can check the population numbers for all these different games. MCC on Steam, MCC on Xbox Live, Halo 5, you got Halo 3 on Xbox 360, El Dorito's on here, Project Cartographer's on here. So it's a pretty neat site. And then if you go to the MCC game charts, then it shows you populations per game within the MCC, shows you PC versus Xbox population. And as you can see from this chart here, it shows that Halo 3 and Halo Reach are the most popular games within the MCC. I don't know how accurate these numbers are, but just by playing MCC, you can kind of tell that Halo 3 and Halo Reach are the most popular, and like this chart right here reflects that. So getting back to what I said before, which is one of the first points I want to make, the gameplay that Halo 5 has to offer is significantly different than what you're going to get with the games within MCC, especially the most popular games in the MCC, Halo Reach and Halo 3. As many of you know, Halo 5 is an enhanced mobility Halo game. A Halo game where you spawn with 7 abilities. You spawn with sprint, thruster packs, and clamber, and slide, stabilize, Spartan charge, ground pound. I might be missing some. You get all these abilities. We know we've been over this before. We understand that Halo 5 does play a lot different than classic Halo games. Plays a lot different than games like Halo Reach and Halo 3, which again are the most popular games within the MCC. And just to specify, no, I am not referring to Halo Reach as a classic Halo game. I am not doing that. But the point I want to make here is, when it comes to somebody who enjoys Halo 5, they enjoy enhanced mobility Halo, and they want to play Halo 5, opting to play one of the games in the MCC might not necessarily scratch that itch for them, because the MCC Halo games are very different than Halo 5. I'm a fan of Halo 3. If I want to play Halo 3, playing a game like Halo 5 is not going to be satisfactory. There's many other games if I couldn't play Halo 3, there's many other games I'd rather play, that non-Halo games, before a game like Halo 5. If I couldn't play Halo 3, and I had to play, and like Halo 5 was the only Halo game I could play at the time for whatever reason, I'd rather just not play anything at all. So what I'm saying is, like Arash mentioned, Halo 5 and MCC are not on equal footing, and they're not. So it's not like they're equals and then one game's getting updates and the other's not. Halo 5 is a very different Halo game than the Halo games within the MCC, especially the most popular games in the MCC like Halo Reach and Halo 3. And I mean, it makes sense Halo 5 is a very different Halo game, because every player in the game, in most of the game modes, most of the playlists, are spawning into the game with 7 abilities. Games like Halo 1, 2, and 3 didn't have any of these abilities. Halo Reach had sprint and other abilities, but you could only pick one, and then Halo 4 had sprint and a thrust ability, and everybody in Halo 4 had sprint, and you could pick an ability to go along with it. Halo 5, every player in the game spawns in with 7 abilities that just keep recharging and you can keep using. So it absolutely makes sense that Halo 5's gameplay would be significantly different than past Halo games. So just because this collection of older Halo games that play significantly different than a game like Halo 5 is getting updates, it's on Game Pass, they got ported to PC, it doesn't necessarily mean that a fan of Halo 5 is going to play the MCC just because that's the game that's getting updated now and Halo 5 is not. So that's point number 1. Halo 5, MCC, they're different games. Just because one's getting updated does not mean the fans of Halo 5 and the gameplay that game has to offer are going to play a game like MCC just because it's getting updates, alright? Like, there's plenty of games out there that are getting updates while Halo 5's not. You know, Apex Legends, Valorant, Rainbow Six Siege, Call of Duty. Just because they're getting updates does not mean somebody who wants to play Halo 5 is going to play those games instead just because they're getting updates. Now, point number 2 that I wanted to make is just the fact that Halo 5 is a newer Halo game. Like, let's not act like MCC has all the advantages when it comes to retaining players and keeping them engaged. MCC is a collection of old Halo games. The most popular games within the collection are a 10 and a 13-year-old game. Halo 5 is only 5 years old. It's new, and it's no secret that people usually gravitate towards the newest entry in a series. So that's a big reason why people might want to play Halo 5 over the MCC, just because it's newer, it's refreshing. A lot of people have been playing these older Halo games for so long and they just want something new. Now, as we've already discussed, Halo 5 and the games within the MCC are very different Halo games, but people still might opt to play Halo 5 just because it's the newest game in the series. And especially like a lot of people who don't really follow Halo, they're not big into Halo and they want to play Halo again, they might say, okay, what's the newest Halo? Oh, Halo 5? I'll go play that. A lot of people do that. A lot of people do that with Call of Duty and other gaming series as well. They gravitate towards the newest entry in the series. That's no secret. A lot of people do that. Now, the next point I want to make is that Halo 5 has gotten plenty of content updates. Like, it would be so disingenuous to sit here and act like Halo 5 is the Halo game that doesn't get updates. Halo 5 has had many content updates. Within about a year and a month, Halo 5 had gotten 10 content updates. A year and a month, we can call it a year. 10 content updates in about a year. And then November 2nd of 2017, Halo 5 had gotten its final content update. No other Halo game has seen content updates the likes of which Halo 5 have. Not even close. Not even close. For the most part, all the content updates we've gotten in prior Halo games were just map packs, your 3 or 4 map packs. Halo 4 added a little bit of new armor, skins, and a game mode, I believe. But still, none of that compares to the content updates that a game like Halo 5 had. 10 content updates in about a year. These content updates included things like additional arena maps, warzone maps, new armor, new rec weapons, new stances, assassinations, big, massive Forge updates. Some of the updates brought Forge to the game, brought Warzone Firefight to the game. Yeah, these things should have been there at launch, but they weren't. So that counts as a big update. And like a lot of the new additions to MCC that we're seeing now are things like weapons and vehicle skins and nameplates, new armor. Halo 5 had all kinds of things on par with that and even more. Even new enemies and new vehicles had been added. The Wasp was a new vehicle. The Grunt Goblin was a new vehicle. Observer mode, that was something that was added in one of Halo 5's content updates. I mean, and like, here's all the updates for Halo 5. Battle of Shadow and Light, Cartographer's Gift, Infinite Armory, Hammer Storm, Ghost of Meridian, Memories of Reach, Hog Wild, Warzone Firefight, Anvil's Legacy, Monitor's Bounty, and Overtime. This was the one that Overtime dropped on November 2nd, 2017, which was about a year after the 10th content update for Halo 5. And I mean, if you just scroll through all these, I mean, you could look at this right here, gives you a brief description of some of the new additions with these content updates right here. But also, if you scroll through the Halo Waypoint page for these updates, I mean, you could see plenty of new rec weapons and vehicles and skins and emblems and new assassinations. The Forge got added in this update. New assassination, new rec weapons, new armor, new Warzone map. I mean, this one, Memories of Reach, you got all like the cool armor from the Halo Reach characters. Another new map, Forge updates, Anvil's Legacy, content browser got added, new map, I think, Temple. Like, I mean, you can go through all. There was plenty of new content added to Halo 5. And let's not act like the new content that we're getting in MCC is so superior to anything we got in Halo 5. Because in MCC, for the most part, it's like in these season passes, we're unlocking things like armor, weapon skins, vehicle skins, nameplates, and like some of the armor, like in the first season pass for MCC, is Halo Reach armor. Like, this isn't new armor, it's new to MCC, but we've already had this armor in the 10-year-old game Halo Reach. And it wasn't until recently that it was announced that we were getting the new maps for Halo 3, the Halo Online maps, Edge and Waterfall. Halo 5 easily had more maps added to the game post-launch than MCC did. And that's another thing that people need to remember. Yeah, Halo Reach got added to the MCC. You can call that new content for the MCC, but what is the MCC? It's a collection of old Halo games, okay? Like Halo Reach, it's new to MCC, but that's not new content. Halo Reach is a 10-year-old game. You can't say, oh, with Halo Reach being added to MCC, that's a whole new campaign being added, all these new multiplayer maps and new weapons, new armor. Like, no, we've already had this stuff. The GRD helmet, that was new armor added to MCC for Halo Reach. And then we got the new Halo Online armor added to Halo 3 in MCC. But like when 343 added ODST to the MCC and added Halo Reach to the MCC, you can't count that as all this new content, because it's not new content. It's just new to the collection. You can count the things that are new to those games, like the new player model variations that were added that you could choose for your ODST in Halo 3 ODST, and then, like I said, some new armor like the GRD helmet added into Halo Reach in the MCC. 343 added skulls and some new vehicles to Halo 2 for custom games. So yeah, it's no secret that MCC has gotten new content, and they've gotten new content since 343 stopped adding content to Halo 5. But Halo 5, it's the newest entry into the series, and it's already gotten a ton of content updates. Yeah, they crammed 10 of those 11 content updates into the time span of about a year, but still, there they were. Those were the content updates. That was a lot of content added to Halo 5. But we're going to sit here and act like Halo 5's the game that's at a disadvantage because it's not currently getting updates anymore. It already had so much content added to it, and it's the newest Halo game. And with MCC, it's older Halo games. Halo 3, 13 years old. Halo Reach, 10 years old. And how much content are those games actually getting in MCC? Like we're getting nameplates. Okay, that's cool. Halo 3 got weapon skins and new armor. Some people hated that, and Halo 5's gotten plenty of that. We're just now getting 2 new maps for Halo 3. Halo 5 has gotten plenty of new maps post-launch. So yeah, it's so absurd to act like MCC is greatly outperforming Halo 5 in terms of new content being added to the game. And like I said, we shouldn't really be counting things like Halo Reach being added to the collection as new content. Like, oh, it's a new campaign, it's a new maps, new weapons, new vehicles. No, we've already had this stuff in the 10-year-old game Halo Reach. It's just now being brought into the collection. People got to remember that MCC is a collection of older Halo games. And another point that I want to add to this discussion that I think a lot of people forget or just don't understand is that MCC has not fully recovered from its disastrous launch. And what I mean by that is, when MCC launched back in 2014, and was one of, if not the worst, video game launch of all time, many people turned their back to the game and never returned. Some people had stuck around for a few extra days or weeks or months after launch, with hopes that the game would be fixed, and after that time had passed and they seen that MCC was still not fixed, then they turned their back on MCC and never returned. What I'm getting at here is I definitely believe MCC's population would be higher right now if it wasn't one of the worst video game launches of all fucking time. If you think MCC has fully recovered in terms of population since its launch, you're crazy. Like, yeah, I understand that MCC has seen many updates, many improvements since its launch, and the game has brought in some new people, but still, what I'm saying is, if the game did not launch in the state that it did, the awful, disastrous state that it did, it would be sitting at a higher population now than it is. And the reason I even bring this up is because I do feel like this is a detail that should be involved in this conversation, because MCC currently has a much higher population than Halo 5 right now, according to SpartanFinder.com. And so that's MCC having a higher population despite it being one of the worst video game launches of all time. So that is definitely something that you should take into consideration when comparing MCC's population numbers to Halo 5's population numbers. Because yeah, unlike Halo 5, MCC is getting updates right now, MCC is on Game Pass, MCC is on PC, but it took a massive fucking hit with its disastrous launch. And you absolutely cannot overlook that. Like, if you're going to point out the advantages that MCC has over Halo 5 in terms of player retention, then you have to acknowledge the massive disadvantages that MCC is at as well. And I believe this is the last point I wanted to make. Let's take it back a bit. Let's go back to the Halo 2 days, the Halo 3 days, Halo Reach. You know, remember when Halo was thriving? Hundreds of thousands of people playing the game every day. How much content updates were we getting back then for Halo 2 and 3? You know, back when Halo was on top, killing it, everyone was playing. How much content was being added? Not a whole lot. Just your 3 or 4 map packs. So it's already been proven that you don't need frequent and consistent content updates to keep players engaged and enjoying the game. And I mean, you could try to make the argument that that was such a long time ago. Developers need to be pushing out consistent updates for their games now if they want to compete with other games. And for one, I kind of disagree with that. I mean, if a game is good at launch and has a lot of replayability, then yeah, you don't need to keep pushing out content to that game to keep people coming back. I mean, just look at Counter-Strike. I know Counter-Strike still gets updated and has different seasons. I don't know exactly what is provided in these updates content-wise, but for the most part, when you're playing Counter-Strike, you're just playing the same thing you've been playing for the last however many years. And a game like Valorant, a ton of people are playing Valorant, just like a ton of people are playing Counter-Strike. In Valorant, when you play, it's really the same thing over and over and over again. The game launched with 4 maps, and it only has 5 now. Where's all the new content for that? Yeah, the game's gotten some new skins, some new agents, and it has gotten 1 new map. But still, it's not a ton of new content. And like I said, when you're playing a game like Valorant or a game like Counter-Strike, it's a very similar experience every match. And I'm not shitting on these games, I mean, because hundreds of thousands of people still play these games every day. I'm just pointing out that even when there's not a ton of new content being added to the game, and each match you play is a very similar experience, that game can still retain players, a ton of players, for a long time. Which is what we saw with Halo 2 back in the day, Halo 3, Halo Reach. I mean, people are still... Halo Reach, a 10-year-old game, and Halo 3, a 13-year-old game, are the most popular games within the MCC. People are still playing these games this long after their original launch. So that's going to just about do it for this video, guys. I hope I made it real clear where I stand on this topic. I do think it is fair to point to MCC's population numbers when discussing which game people enjoy more, Halo 5 or MCC, in terms of gameplay. And I do think that the overwhelming majority of people who choose to play MCC over Halo 5 do so because they enjoy the games within the MCC more than a game like Halo 5. I do not think that most people are playing MCC over Halo 5 just because that's the game that's getting updated. Now, don't get me wrong, MCC still receiving support from the developers, MCC being on PC, MCC being on Game Pass, these are all big things. Like, if you want to play Halo 5 right now, Halo 5 in its entirety, I'm not talking about the Forge version on PC, but if you want to play Halo 5, you gotta play on Xbox at 60 FPS. MCC is on multiple platforms. It being on PC is huge. You can play at uncapped frame rates and adjust FOV. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. I'm not acting like a lot of people wouldn't prefer to play their games on PC at uncapped frame rates that are getting updated, and FOV sliders and various other things. But even then, with all that, I believe that most people prefer to play MCC over Halo 5 is because they enjoy the games in at least some of the games in MCC, more than Halo 5 when it comes to gameplay. And that is not just a baseless assumption. I've made several arguments throughout this video to back that up. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. I will link Arash's YouTube channel in the description. Like I said, his tweets were kind of my motivation for making this video now, as opposed to waiting to a later date. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.